Hi, I'm Jay Frischman from European Cycle Services. Today we are going to manually degree cams on a Testastretta engine. The reason for doing this is the factory blocks only get you within 4 to 6 degrees of cam timing, and by manually degreeing them we can get them spot on. There's a few things that we're going to need to degree the cams, and the first thing is a good set of feeler gauges. We're going to need a degree wheel and a pointer. We're going to need a dial indicator and some kind of fixture to get onto the valve, and also an extension so we can measure the engine's top dead center. Alright, before we get started on degreeing the cams, I'd just like to talk a little bit about the 4 strokes of the engine. We're going to take this screwdriver and drop it in the spark plug hole. It's going to be laying right on the piston. This is the intake port, and this is the exhaust port. This tool is bolted into the crankshaft, and we're going to spin that 2 times around, 720 degrees. You'll see the screwdriver is going up and down, and the cams are turning. The cams spin at half speed to the crankshaft, which allows the piston to travel up and down twice for every 1 revolution of the intake and exhaust valves. We have a little marker up here that shows that when I spin this once, it doesn't quite come back up. 1 more time gets us back to the starting point. Alright, so to get started, what we need to do is calibrate our degree wheel to the top dead center of the combustion stroke of the engine. We're going to remove our screwdriver that we used to display the piston going up and down, and we're going to put this small extension in and take our dial indicator and drop it right on the top there. Lock it down. Now we're going to move the engine back and forth to find our true top dead center. So once I get it close, I'll just move the 0. Alright, looks like we're about 2 degrees off on the crankshaft. So just want to rock that back and that's it. Lined up right on the 0. Alright, now that we're all set with our top dead center for the piston, we need to move the gauge over to the valve so we can read the valve movement. I'm just going to get rid of my extension off the piston, and we have this little tool that we made that's going to sit on the closing shim of the valve. And anytime we're measuring cam time, we need to remove all of the lash from the valve. So we're going to take a feeler gauge and stick it in between the cam and the opening rocker arm. About 7 thousandths feels just about perfect. Just going to set our fixture up on the valve. Get the fixture set up as on the same angle as the valve. We're just going to roughen the 0, and we're going to move it back and forth a couple times to get repeatability. Alright, now that we have the gauge all zeroed out on the valve, it's repeatable, everything is zeroed, we can go ahead and start measuring the cam timing. I'm going to first start off by turning the engine the direction of rotation to measure when the valve opens. We're going to turn it until there's 40 thousandths of lift. At that point, we're going to read our gauge and see where we are for our opening number. We're at 10 degrees before top dead center. I'm going to jot that down. Alright, then moving to the closing number, I'm going to turn the engine all the way back. Going reverse direction, I'll go past the 40 thousandths, and then going direction of rotation to the 40 thousandths mark. Once again, we're going to read the gauge. It's like 46 degrees. We're going to jot that down and continue with some math. Now that we've measured our opening and closing number, we're going to apply those to our lobe center formula. The formula is open plus close plus 180 divided by 2 minus the overlap, which is generally the smaller of the two numbers, equals the lobe center number. We've applied the numbers here. We have 10 plus 46 plus 180 divided by 2 minus 10 equals 108. Ducati's lobe center spec is 116, so we are going to move this cam 8 degrees to Ducati specification. Now that we've determined that our cam is at 108 degrees and should be 116, we now know we have to move the cam 8 degrees. By looking at our lobe center formula, the lower of the two numbers is our overlap number. To get this number to raise to 116, if we lower this 8, turn it into 2, this will make our lobe center 116. I'll turn the crankshaft until I get to 2 degrees before top dead center. Perfect. Note where the dial indicator is, and then we're going to move the cam until it's back at its 40 thousandths of lift. This should get our cam right on. Okay, we're going to unlock the cam pulley. There's 3 bolts that need to be loosened. Sometimes they're 4mm Allen, sometimes they're 5, and sometimes they're Torx. I have my mirror that I can read the gauge with from the other side. Now I'm just going to turn the cam until I hit 40 thousandths of lift. Lock the cam pulley down. Then double check our numbers. After we move the intake cam, we'll double check the opening and closing numbers, plug them into our lobe center formula, and ensure we're at 116 degrees. We'll then move on to the rest of the cams. The only difference with the exhaust cams is the overlap happens as the valve is closing instead of opening. Once we move through all the cams and know our cams are in time, we'll button up the engine, and we know we'll have peak performance.